welcome to another episode of the Don't Argue with the Facts podcast. I'm your host, Noah Love, and today we're going to be previewing the play-in slash a little bit of the NBA playoffs. The NBA playoffs are now locked in. The regular season has come to an end. It was a very intriguing and interesting season, but the playoff matchups are set in full swing here. Without further ado, let's just get straight into it because I have some thoughts. Okay, let's start in the East. The top two seeds are the Pistons, who won 60 games. What a turnaround. And the Celtics. They'll see the winner. They're playing decides their winner. Obviously, in the 3-6 we have Knicks Hawks. In the 4-5 we have Cav Raptors. In the play-in, in the 7-8 it's the Sixers Magic. In the 9-10 it's the Hornets and Heat. Obviously, people, if you don't know how play-in works, winner of the 7 and 8 game, it's win and in. So winner of Sixers Magic in Philly, by the way, the winner will go to Boston. And to start game one of that series. And I do believe that game, I'm trying to see, that game is when? I think it's on Sunday, I want to say. I'll find it. But yeah, the winner of that will obviously play the Celtics. Sixers, no Embiid. Magic, we'll get into them because I have some thoughts on that debacle yesterday. And then in the 9-10, Hornets and Heat, when you play the loser of Hornets Heat Hornets Heat, if you win, you play the loser of Sixers Magic. And that will be on the road. And obviously, if whoever wins that game goes and gets Detroit in the first round. The Celtics game is on Sunday. It's on this Sunday. Okay. Obviously, that's taken care of now. In the West, the 1 and 2 seeds. The 1 seed is the Thunder, the 2 seed is the Spurs. In the 3-6, we got a great one. We got Nuggets and T-Wolves, part 3 in the playoffs. The Nuggets beat them the championship year. The year they won the chip, Nuggets beat the Wolves. And then the Wolves came back a year later, beat them in 7 games. And so this is the third one. In the winner obviously moves on, loser goes home. That's going to be a heck of a series. The storylines there, Jokic, Edwards. The Wolves, anytime the Wolves and Nuggets play, this has become a rivalry. Anytime they played, it's been fantastic. And it's been great basketball games. In the first round as well, in the 4-5, we have Lakers and Rockets. We've got KD versus LeBron, one last time, more than likely in the playoffs. The Lakers are just depleted, and the Lakers will get home court. They'll play the Rockets. That's going to be tough depending on the status of Luka. We don't know, and Reeves will be out. So with no Reeves, it will even be tough then. Then in the play-in, in the 7-8 game, you have Blazers, Suns. The winner obviously goes to San Antonio. And then in the 9-10 game, we have Clippers, Warriors. The winner plays the loser of the 7-8 game. on the road for a chance to go to the playoffs. The loser goes to the lottery. So it's very so this is a very intriguing playoffs, I think. Obviously the Thunder, they're trying to go back to back. The Spurs are obviously this is their first playoffs with this core, and they're trying to see what they can do. To me, the West playoffs, it's so interesting because Lakers, I don't know what the status of Luka is. If he's back, I think that first round series against Rockets become very interesting. Obviously, the Rockets, they felt like Durant made them title contenders. Okay, you obviously still have the Wolves and the Nuggets more than likely to get to the NBA Finals. They'd have to go through the Wolves, the Spurs, and probably the Thunder. And that would be an improbable playoff run. I don't feel like there's a team in the West that has big time pressure. Maybe Denver, you can say that, obviously, but they've already got a chip. I mean, I guess maybe the Lakers, but they're not good enough. I feel. Same with the Wolves. I don't feel like they're good enough, as great as Ann is. I guess the Rockets will have some significant pressure because you can't get get Kevin Durant and say we're title contenders and then get bounced in the first round because you're basically in the same position as last year. I think in the East, with this playoffs, there's so much pressure on the New York Knicks. You have to get to the finals. You have to. Like, don't lose to Toronto in the first round. Or excuse me, the Hawks in the first round. Because that would be bad. That's an off season I dread if that happens. Don't lose that. I think there's a lot. I think there's more pressure on them. I think there's a lot of pressure on Cleveland after last season ended, and then Cleveland, you go out and get James Harden. I think there's a lot of pressure on them. I feel like there's some pressure on Detroit, obviously, with the season they've had, and I know Boston's back, but I mean, obviously, the one team last year that won the East, Indiana, the Pacers, been awful this year. They've been hurt. Obviously, in terms of the East, it's kind of open because I think the East is going to be better next year than it was this year. And I think it was really good this year. Obviously, you see some teams ascending and all that. But yeah, I think Brunson, Mitchell, the pressure is very much on. Like, you have to. One of those two has to make the finals. I feel like Mitchell, you got to make the conference finals. Like I feel like if you make the conference finals, it could feel like a successful season for some people. Other people will look at it as like a failure, I guess, because they weren't as good as last year. Knicks finals, bare minimum. You fired Tom Thibodeau. You said it wasn't our fault, it was his fault. You blame Tom Thibodeau. You have to go. And you have to go and win it now. The first round, obviously, that Detroit, April 19th, that's Sunday on NBC. The Boston, 1 o'clock ABC, whoever they play. These first round matchups, to me, in the East, I think New York and Atlanta. Atlanta to me is the most intriguing team just from the standpoint of the run they've kind of went on to get to the playoffs. And Quinn Snyder's done a heck of a job. And I don't know if you know what to expect. I mean, look, they played New York earlier in the month, and it came down to the wire, right? They got guys that can get a bucket. Nikhil Alexander Walker, CJ McCollum coming in. They just play very team oriented basketball. This is a very intriguing matchup, and also from the standpoint of Dyson Daniels, because you know Dyson Daniels is going to be on Jalen Brunson. How is that? How will that'll be an interesting matchup? To me, the key in the series is Cat. I'm sorry, I don't think the Atlanta Hawks have anybody that can guard him straight up. I'm sorry, he's the key. He got to average 25 and 10 bare minimum in this series because, or he should. I don't say has to. He should because I don't believe they have anybody that can check him. And look, for some teams in the regular season, you're like, all right, we're just trying to get to the playoffs. I feel like with the Knicks and a little bit of Cleveland and maybe Boston kind of too in the East, you feel like, all right, let's just get to the playoffs here. I kind of felt that way about the Knicks all season, like, okay, let's just get to the playoffs and then let's go. And so that's just truly what I think. I think the playoffs are here. They're going to turn it up a level. Can Atlanta match that level? I don't think consistently they can. Again, it's going to be a very intriguing series. Obviously, game one already sets the tone again. New York was taken to the brink last year almost by Detroit in a tough 6 game series. I think Atlanta could do something similar because Atlanta shoots the 3 ball well, makes shots. They're young, athletic, get up and down the floor. You know, they also have very good defensive players. Jalen Johnson being the guy is going to be interesting to see how he plays in his first playoffs. He's been an all-star for them this year. So yeah, New York and Atlanta. I'll go more in depth probably later uh, this week, but just my first really thoughts waking up this morning. Cleveland and Toronto. I think to be to be honest, Toronto, like, you're back in the playoffs. Great. Cleveland should win this in 4 or 5. They should win. I'll give Toronto a game because I think they could get a game. They should win. If this goes to 6 or 7, I'm sorry, Cleveland, you're not serious. Toronto's a very upstart team. Very good. I think a lack of a true point guard. I know Quickly is the starting point. He's not a true point. I think the lack of that could come back to hurt them. But again, got. But I look at Toronto and I say this: they've got guys that can put the ball in the bucket. When you look at it, Ingram. When you look at it, Barrett. When you look at it, Quickly, they have guys that can put the ball in the buckets. This is going to be Scotty Barnes' first playoff as, I guess you could say, the guy when he's made the playoffs before. But let's be real, that was the they kind of Toronto that year with the 5. They kind of came out of nowhere, and that was still there were still some veterans. Obviously, Toronto has sort of built this to where they're in the playoffs. Look, a playoff game back in that obviously arena and in Canada should be very enticing. To me, nobody can check Mitchell and Harden. To me, the backcourt is the difference for Cleveland. Nobody can check Mitchell and Harden on that team. I'm sorry. Now it'll be interesting to see what Toronto defensively tries to throw at them. Do they play some zone, or do they go? Are they just going to play them straight up? Or are they going to come double? I think Harden's playmaking ability, as much as some people loved Garland, I think that's something you're going to see that I think that's something you're going to see that Garland, I guess, could not bring last year because of the toe and had not brung in the playoffs. Obviously, Harden in the first round, he's great and he's got so much playoff experience there. But in terms of the playing games, it's going to be a match. Obviously, Hornets Heat is going to be the game. I guess there's a scheduling conflict with the Flyers and the Sixers. So the Sixers game in the East, that's on Wednesday. The Hornets Heat in the 9-10. Again, that place is going to be rocking. A madhouse. Charlotte's ability, in my opinion, to really ramp up the pace is going to be the key. Now, they're not lost on playing experiences, or at least LaMelo isn't. They're 0-2. For the rest of those guys, this is really like their first playing appearances, unless you're Kobe White or somebody like that. The Heat have been here who knows how many times. The Hornets are the upstart team. Spoelstra, he usually finds a way to do it every year. I really like this Charlotte team. I think Khan's got to play better than he has the past couple of games. I think he has to play better. I think he has to shoot better. To me, what Miami wants to do, you cannot let this pace get sped up. Because if it gets sped up with that crowd and they're making threes and they're pushing and LaMelo's playmaking, that ain't. And when Charlotte gets to be like that, that's not a place you want to be. In my opinion, that's not a place that you want to be. So I think it's key for Miami to try to play this game a lot in the half court. I've got Charlotte winning this game. I think Charlotte's going to win. Look, the Heat won 2 road games last season. It's a tribute. It's a credit to Spoelstra. I do think they can do it again, but I think I like it. I like Charlotte in the team, and I think they're going to be able to get the pace going, and I think they're going to beat Miami here, and Miami's going to be eliminated, and they're going to be in an all season where they're in the lottery. I just think it's kind of been that type of season for Miami. 7-8. 7-8 games. Sixers and Magic. I don't know what to tell you about this game. I don't I got nothing because they're so confusing. Somebody got to win and somebody got to make the playoffs. They're so confusing. They're so confusing, these two teams, from the standpoint of I look at the Sixers and I say this season, okay, not having Embiid there, cool. You've got Maxey, you've got Edgecombe, you've got obviously George there. Orlando, I don't know what that performance was against Boston. The way this season has gone, I don't know. I don't see you winning this game, especially after the way that last game went. I just don't see you winning. Give me the Sixers there to move on. And so it will be between the Magic and the Hornets in the 8-9 game for the 8 seed in my predictions. Then in the West, 7-8 game, we got the Suns and the Blazers. I'm going to go out on a limb. Give me Portland. I think Portland's been playing some very good basketball. I love Book. I think what they've done is great. I think Denny. I think the Blazers' ability you look at the last matchups that they've played. Just they've played this year twice. Or excuse me, they've played this year 4 times. Yeah, they've played this year four, or is that four? Hold on, I'm looking at the wrong app. Hold on, y'all. One, two. They've played 3 times. The Suns has beat them twice. They beat them once early in the season. They beat them in the middle of the season by 5, and then Portland beat them by 15 in their last meeting. I think the key to this game is going to be Denny Avdia. They actually been without Avdia in that game. Obviously, Avia's been playing like an all-star stud. I think he's going to be very key. On the road in a tough environment, it's a young team against Phoenix, but I do think they're ready to play. They come ready to play. I think Denny shows to a national audience why he was an all star this year. I think he shows how great he is, how good he is. I think he gets some contributions. I think Drew Holiday, having been here before, helps him. I think Portland wins. I believe Portland wins. And then for my final playing predictions, Warriors, Clippers. I think both teams in the West on the road find a way to win. I think the Warriors, I think you get a vintage Steph Curry performance. I think that is enough to lift the Warriors over the Clippers. And I think the Warriors and Suns will play for that final AC spot. You always have a 10 seed, I think, in the where you go and you look, how did they win a game? I think the Warriors are going to be that team this year to win a game in the plan. All right, this has been an episode of the Don't Argue with the Facts podcast. This has been my playing predictions and my sort of playoff preview. I'll be going more in detail with the matchups as we closely approach Saturday. All right. And I'll also have the reactions of the game ones and up stuff. All right. Until your next time. See ya.